Hey there YouTube, Ruckman with Crew3 back for another weekly Pioneer Deck Tech. This week, we leave the world of budget behind and head to the cemetery with our good old rocky friend, green-black Delirium. We start off with 4 copies of Grim Flare. Flare is a great example of a rock-style creature. It's a low-curved, well-balanced threat that can punch above its mana cost once we hit Delirium, and if it does get to connect with our opponent, it lets us control the top of our deck, letting us set up our draws and further fuel our Delirium count. Next, we have 4 copies of Satyr Wayfinder. While Flare fills the role of a game closer with a little engine tacked on, Wayfinder is pure engine, allowing us to put multiple cards in our graveyard at once, and hopefully helping us not miss our land drop. Continuing on to our 3 drops, we have 2 copies of Murderous Rider to deal with any big threats and letting us cash in Adventure for a 2/3 lifelinking blocker. After that, we have 2 copies of Courser Crucifix giving us a 2-hit combo for our Delirium count, thanks to it being a creature and an enchantment. Besides that, Courser's 2/4 status in life game makes it an excellent option for aggressive matchups, and every land we play off the top means 1 less land sitting around in our hand. Rounding out our trio of 3 drops are 2 copies of Tireless Tracker. Another one of my Pioneer favorites, Tracker turns all of our land drops into a clue token, which we can cash in later for more cards, and while also growing the tracker. So, just by playing lands, which we already want to do, we get insane amounts of value? Sign me up! Starting with 1 copy of Cletus, we begin our selection of prime traverse targets. For those unfamiliar with the Pioneer mainstay, Cletus is our aggro killer. Not only is that 3/4 lifelinking body hard to beat, but also turns all of our removal spells into zombies as long as our opponent's creatures hit the yard. Next, we have 1 copy of the midrange beast Elder Gargaroth. Move over, questing beast. There's a new keyword soup mythic in town and it's bringing the heat. Gaining life, making a token, or drawing cards? Someone hold me, because I think I've caught a case of the vapors. Our penultimate creature is 1 copy of Tasker the Golden Fang. Tasker is here for when our games go long and we need to head into our graveyard to buy back some spells. So be sure to think about what cards you want your opponents to be giving us as you delve away some of the worst late game options. Finally, we have the Lady of the Hour, 1 copy of Emrakul the Promised End. Could we even call a Delirium deck without Big Mama over here? Let's just say that if none of our previous threats can end the game, well, Emrakul lives up to being the Promised End, especially for our opponents. 2 copies of Liliana the Last Hope start off our pair of Planeswalkers. Speaking of her experience, an unchecked Liliana is not something most creature decks want to see. Her plus ability either kills smaller creatures or throws a wrench in combat math. Her minus helps buy back our creatures that bit the dust and fuels the Delirium count, while her ultimate slowly accrues a horde of zombies to win the game. On the other hand, we have 1 copy of Mono Green All-Star Nissa Who Shakes the World to give us a little extra push to the mana department and turn some of our lands into threats in their own right. For spells, we start with 4 copies of Fatal Push. Need I say anything about Pioneer's premier removal spell? 4 copies of Thoughtseize to keep things fair and strip hard-to-beat cards from our opponent's hand, or just throw them off curve. 3 copies of Traverse the Uvenwald to help us hit our land drops, or with Delirium find one of our impactful 1-of creatures. 2 copies of Abrupt Decay is a nearly perfect catch-all removal spell that our opponents can't interact with. And finally, 2 copies of Oath Anissa to spice up our Delirium count and help us either set up our early turns or find something useful in the late game. On to the lands, we have 4 copies of Fable Passes to help us easily get a land in the yard, and 10 dual lands to help smooth out our color-hungry mana base. Next, we have 4 swamps and 3 forests to serve as our Fable Passage targets, with a few extra to make sure we hopefully have enough for all of our fetch lands. Then, as with any mid-range black deck, we have 2 copies of Castle Lockflame to draw into more action late game, and 1 Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth to help facilitate those castles with all the non-swamps we're running. For our sideboard, we have 2 Duress for some added discard goodness, 2 Soulguide Lantern to wipe out our opponent's graveyard, 2 Collective Brutality as a Swiss Army knife for a wide variety of matchups, and that escalate lines up nicely with our Delirium plan, 2 Noxious Grass for any big green threats we might be worried about, and 2 Reclamation Stage to take care of any annoying artifacts or enchantments. Rounding out the sideboard is 1 Assassin's Trophy to support our main board decays, 1 Scavenging Ooze to give our Traverses a searchable graveyard hate spell, additional copies of Cletus and Elder Gargaroth because some matchups you just want more, and finally 1 copy of Ishkanah to annoy those pesky spirit players, come up with the ground game if needed, or give us a mana sink to end the game in grindy matchups. Wow, at 473.18, I wasn't joking when I said we were leaving the budget world behind, but I'd say plenty of cards here are worth their price tags, so if you're looking for a good place to start before adding Kroxa and junding out your opponents or summoning a Shark Typhoon with Sultai, I'd say look no further. As always, this has been Ruckman with Crew3. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to keep up with all our weekly deck techs. For more Pioneer content, you can find Crew3 A Pioneer Podcast on all major podcasting platforms, or you can join us over on twitch.tv/Crew3MTG, where I stream several nights a week. If you'd like to see your name added to this wonderful list at the end of all of our videos, head on over to patreon.com/Crew3MTG to support the podcast and this channel. Talk to y'all next week. Bye!